Commander Tahoe frowned at the display screen in front of him. For weeks now, strange readings had been coming from the human system. The gravity patterns near Earth didn't make sense. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. "Show me the Mars readings," he ordered. His assistant pulled up the data. Where Mars should be, there was now just empty space with unusual energy signatures. "This can't be right," Tahoe muttered. "The humans can't possibly have the technology to move or change an entire planet." The Galactic Concordat had always viewed humans as clever but primitive. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 60 years ago, while most other species in the Concordat had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Tahoe called an emergency meeting with the High Council. The 6 alien leaders appeared as holograms around the table. "Something strange is happening in the human system," Tahoe explained. "Several planets appear to be missing." "Impossible," said Elder Koji. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." "Nevertheless," Tahoe insisted, "our readings show that Mars is no longer where it should be." After much debate, they agreed to send Ambassador Minyoung to investigate. Her ship departed immediately for Earth. 3 days later, all contact with her vessel was lost. Tahoe ordered constant surveillance of the Sol system. For weeks, nothing changed. Then one morning, alarms blared throughout the Concordat headquarters. "Massive object emerging from hyperspace near Alpha Centauri," shouted the sensor officer. On the main view screen, something impossible appeared. It was Mars, or what had once been Mars, transformed into an enormous warship. The red planet had been hollowed out, fitted with engines that defied understanding, and armed with weapons unlike anything the Concordat had ever seen. Tahoe stared in disbelief. The vessel was over 6,700 kilometers in diameter. Their largest dreadnought was barely 3 kilometers long. "Open communications," he ordered, his voice barely steady. The screen flickered, and a human woman appeared. She wore a simple white uniform with the Earth symbol on her shoulder. "I am Dr. Juwu, chief architect of the Behemoth Project," she said calmly. "We were wondering when you would notice." "What have you done?" Tahoe asked. "We've done what you said was impossible," she replied with a slight smile. "We've redesigned our planets into the most powerful vessels ever created." Tahoe struggled to maintain his composure. "This is a violation of Concordat law. Planetary engineering on this scale is forbidden. Laws that you never let us help write," Dr. Juwu noted. "For too long, humans have been treated as lesser beings in this galaxy. We were denied seats on your councils. Our requests for technology sharing were rejected. You took our resources through unfair trade deals." Behind her, Tahoe could see humans working at various stations on what appeared to be a vast bridge. "Where are the rest of your planets?" he asked, dreading the answer. "Coming soon," she said. "Mercury is already operational. Jupiter and Venus are nearly complete." The implications were staggering. If the humans had converted their entire solar system into these massive warships, they would possess more firepower than the entire Concordat fleet combined. "What do you want?" Tahoe asked quietly. "Respect," said Dr. Juwu. "A seat at the table. Fair treatment." She turned to a young officer beside her. "Send the full message to all Concordat worlds." Back at headquarters, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. 4 more planet ships had emerged at strategic locations throughout Concordat space, each one positioned near vital trade routes or important military installations. The High Council convened an emergency session. The room was filled with shouting and accusations. How had humans achieved this technological leap? Who had failed to notice their preparations? Tahoe stood silently at the window, watching distant stars. In just one day, the power balance of the galaxy had shifted completely. On the bridge of the Mars ship, Dr. Juwu watched the stars too. After years of work, their impossible project had succeeded. Humans had transformed their greatest limitation, having only one star system, into their greatest strength. "Status report," she called out. "All systems functioning perfectly," replied her second-in-command. The other planet ships report ready. Good, she said. Now we wait. She knew the Concordat would be in chaos, trying to decide how to respond. Some would want war. Others would push for negotiation. Either way, humans would never again be ignored. Was it worth it? Asked a young engineer beside her. Transforming our entire home system. Dr. Juwu nodded. We didn't destroy our planets. We evolved them. And in doing so, we've secured humanity's place in the galaxy. Outside the viewports, space seemed calm and quiet, but everything had changed. The era of human submission was over. Dr. Minho stood in his small lab, staring at a tiny ball of metal floating in midair. After 10 years of work, he had finally done it. The gravity field generator worked. It wasn't just reducing gravity. It was changing how matter held itself together. It's working, he whispered to himself. It's really working. He pressed a button on his tablet, and the metal ball stretched, compressed, and then reshaped itself into a cube, all without melting or breaking. The atoms were simply rearranging themselves. 3 days later, he presented his findings to the United Earth Science Council. Most of the scientists looked confused. Some looked bored. But in the back row, General Hannah watched with growing excitement. After the presentation, she approached him. Dr. Minho, I need to know, could this work on a larger scale? He blinked. How large? Planetary, she said simply. 5 years later, Mars became the testing ground. The red planet was sparsely populated, mainly by research stations and mining operations. All personnel were evacuated under the guise of dangerous solar flare activity. A network of 1,000 gravity field generators was positioned around the planet. When activated, they would allow engineers to manipulate the entire planet's structure, from its iron core to its dusty surface. Dr. Minho stood in the control room on Phobos, one of Mars' moons. His hand shook as he prepared to activate the system. If he was wrong, the planet could tear itself apart. All stations report ready, said his assistant Yunji. Minho took a deep breath and pressed his hand against the scanner. Initiate planetary reconfiguration. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Mars began to glow. The surface rippled like water. Mountains sank. Canyons closed. The entire planet seemed to breathe. Core transformation at 10%, reported Yunji. 20%, 30%. Over the next 6 days, they watched as Mars changed. The planet's core was converted into a massive power generator. Its mantle restructured into living quarters, factories, and ship systems. The crust became armor plating with weapon ports. When it was done, Mars had become the first planet ship. It looked mostly the same from a distance, still round, still reddish. But it was now a vessel capable of moving through space under its own power. We did it, Minho whispered, tears in his eyes. News of the success spread quickly through the highest levels of Earth's government. Planet ship projects for Mercury, Ganymede, and Callisto were immediately approved. Mercury was harder to transform. Its proximity to the sun made working conditions difficult, but its metal-rich composition made it perfect for weapon systems. When completed, the Mercury ship became the main attack vessel in the human fleet. Ganymede and Callisto, being moons of Jupiter, were smaller but easier to convert. They became patrol ships, faster and more maneuverable than their larger cousins. Each planet ship faced unique challenges. Mercury's heat management systems failed twice before engineers solved the problem. Mars experienced gravity fluctuations that caused entire sections to collapse. But each time, human engineers found solutions that the older species would never have tried. Admiral Juncio walked through the newly completed command center inside Earth's moon. From here, he could monitor all planet ship operations across the solar system. Show me current fleet positions, he ordered. A holographic display appeared, showing the positions of all 5 operational planet ships. Mars was near Alpha Centauri. Mercury patrolled the border regions. Ganymede and Callisto protected key trade routes, and Luna, Earth's moon, and the newest addition to the fleet, remained in Earth orbit as the last line of defense. The captains of all 5 vessels appeared on screen for their daily briefing. "The Concordat is in disarray," Jumseo told them. "They've called an emergency meeting to discuss our aggressive action. Their military ships are scrambling, but they're not coordinated." "Did they really not see this coming?" asked Captain Suho of the Mercury ship. "We've been working on this for 10 years. Our power usage alone should have alerted them." Jumseo smiled. They saw what they expected to see, a primitive species struggling with basic space travel. Even when their sensors detected our work, they dismissed it as impossible. "What about the Draconians?" asked Captain Ja of the Mars ship. "Their military is more aggressive than the Concordat." "They're watching," Jumseo admitted, "but they're waiting to see what the Concordat does first." On a Concordat diplomatic vessel, the Rigelian ambassador stared at images of the human planet ships with horror. "They've done the impossible," he said. "They've weaponized entire planets. How did we miss this?" His aide had no answer. No one did. The humans had changed the rules of space warfare overnight. Back on Earth, Dr. Minho stood at his window, looking up at the night sky. Mars was no longer visible in its usual place. Instead, it was out among the stars, carrying human power and human ingenuity to worlds that had long looked down on them. "We didn't just build ships," he said softly. "We built a future where humans will never be ignored again." The great hall of Concordat Station fell silent as Dr. Juwu walked in. She wore a simple white uniform with Earth's blue and green emblem on her shoulder. Behind her came 2 officers in military dress. The room was filled with representatives from 17 different alien species. Many had never seen a human in person before. First Elder Kyun of the Concordat stood to welcome them. His tall, slender form towered over the human delegation. "We thank the humans for agreeing to this meeting," he said. His voice was formal and cold. Dr. Juwu nodded but didn't smile. "We are pleased to finally be invited to speak as equals." The representatives sat around a large circular table. Screens showed images of the human planet ships from various angles. The Mars ship appeared most often, its massive red bulk now fitted with visible weapons ports. "Let us address the obvious concern," said the Ventari representative, her feathered crest rising in agitation. "The humans have created weapons of unprecedented scale. This threatens the peace of our galaxy." Dr. Juwu stood. She activated a small device, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed Earth's solar system. "For 200 years, humanity has asked to join the Concordat as full members," she began. "For 200 years, we have been denied. Your technology is too primitive," you said. "Your society is too unstable." She tapped the device, and the hologram changed to show trade statistics. "Meanwhile, you established mining operations in our asteroid belt. You set up unfair trade deals that took our resources at a fraction of their value. You shared only the most basic technologies with us." The Arcturian delegate shifted uncomfortably. His blue skin darkened with emotion. "These vessels are clearly designed for war," he said, his voice shaking. "The Concordat has never threatened human territories." Dr. Juwu smiled without warmth. "Precisely. Because we were considered harmless. That changes today. We don't seek war. We seek recognition, equal standing, fair treatment." The room erupted in voices, some angry, some fearful. Dr. Juwu waited for quiet to return. "We propose a new treaty," she continued. "Earth will join the Concordat as a full member. All unfair trade agreements will be canceled and renegotiated. In return, we will share our gravity manipulation technology and limit our planet ship construction to the 8 vessels already planned." First Elder Kyun leaned forward. "And if we refuse?" "Then we will protect our interests independently," she replied simply. The talks continued for hours. Some species seemed willing to negotiate. Others remained hostile. The Draconian representative, General Yansu, said nothing at all. He simply watched with cold, calculating eyes. When the meeting broke for a rest period, Dr. Juwu returned to her quarters. Admiral Junseo contacted her via a secure channel. "How are the negotiations proceeding?" he asked. "Mixed results," she replied. "The Concordat is divided. Some want peace. Others fear us too much to think clearly. Be careful," warned the admiral. "Our intelligence suggests the Draconians are planning something. They've moved ships near the Mercury ship's patrol route." "I'll hurry the talks along," she promised. But it was already too late. In the outer colonies, Captain Suho of the Mercury ship detected incoming vessels. 3 Draconian battle groups, over 60 warships, had dropped out of hyperspace and were moving to surround his position. "Incoming transmission," reported his communications officer. The face of Draconian Fleet Commander Dongmin appeared on screen. His scaled face showed no emotion. "Human vessel, power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." Captain Suho remained calm. "Draconian vessels, we are on a peaceful patrol. Your actions constitute an act of war against Earth. Your planet ships are abominations," replied Dongmin. "The Draconian Empire will not wait for you to strike first." The channel closed. Moments later, the Draconian ships opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Mercury ship from all directions. Captain Suho gave a single command: "Activate defensive shields." A shimmering field surrounded the planet ship. The Draconian weapons hit the barrier and dissolved. For nearly 5 minutes, the attack continued. The shields never faltered. "Damage report?" asked Suho. "Shield energy at 97%, reported his first officer. "No damage to any systems." Suho nodded grimly. "They've made their choice. Prepare main weapons. Target all Draconian vessels. From ports across Mercury's surface, strange devices emerge. They didn't fire beams or projectiles. Instead, they created focused gravity distortions, weapons that attacked the very fabric of space-time. The effect was immediate and devastating. Draconian ships began to twist and fold. Metal hulls compressed as if crushed by invisible hands. Some ships simply collapsed into dense balls of matter. Others were torn apart as different sections experienced different gravitational forces. In just 20 minutes, it was over. Where 60 Draconian warships had been, there was now only debris. Captain Suho sent a simple message to Earth. Draconian forces engaged and eliminated. Mercury ship undamaged. Awaiting orders. Back at the diplomatic summit, alarm sounded. The Draconian representative received the news and stood abruptly. "You will pay for this," he shouted at Dr. Juwu. She hadn't yet heard what happened, but she understood immediately. "What did your people do?" she asked quietly. First Elder Kyun looked at the incoming reports with horror. "They attacked your Mercury vessel. And they were all destroyed." The room fell silent again. The age of human submission was truly over. And the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Do-Yun stood on the observation deck of the Ganymede ship, watching the busy space lanes of the Ta-Ceti Nexus. Hundreds of ships moved through the area each day. Before the planet ships, humans rarely traveled here. Now, the massive converted moon of Jupiter controlled the most important trade route in this part of the galaxy. "Captain, we have another request to board," said Lieutenant Gina, looking up from her console. Do-Yun sighed. This was the 3rd request today. "Who is it this time?" "Aldebarans, sir. A scientific delegation. They're offering to share their biogenetic research in exchange for information about our propulsion systems." Do-Yun couldn't help but smile. Just 6 months ago, the Aldebarans had refused to even speak with human representatives. They had called humans barely evolved primates in their official communications. Now they waited patiently in orbit, hoping for a meeting. "Tell them they can board tomorrow at 900 hours. Limited access to common areas only." "Yes, sir," Gina replied, sending the message. Do-Yun walked down to the central command hub, a vast chamber carved into what had once been Ganymede's core. The walls glowed with soft blue light, illuminating the 100 or so crew members working at various stations. Despite the ship's enormous size, it required relatively few people to operate. Most systems were automated. "Status report," he called out. "All systems normal, Captain," replied his second-in-command, Nari. "We've detected increased communication between Draconian outposts. They seem to be planning something." The Draconians had not taken their defeat well. After losing 60 ships to the Mercury ship, they had retreated to their territory to lick their wounds. But intelligence suggested they were forming new alliances with other militaristic species. "Keep monitoring them," Do-hyun ordered, "and increase our sensor range by 10%. Later that day, Do-hyun received a secure communication from Earth. Admiral Junseo's face appeared on the private screen in his quarters. "Captain, how are things at Ta City?" the Admiral asked. "Busy but peaceful," Do-hyun replied. "More delegations arriving daily. Everyone wants to be friends now." Junseo nodded. "It's the same everywhere. The Mars ship reports 15 diplomatic missions in the past week alone. Everyone wants our technology." "What should we do about these requests?" "Share basic information only," Junseo said firmly. "The Council is still debating our long-term approach." The Council debate was the talk of every planet ship. Some humans wanted to use their new power to create a more fair galaxy, where all species were treated equally. Others argued that humans should expand quickly and take control while they still had a technological advantage. "And what do you think we should do, Admiral?" Do-hyun asked carefully. Junseo looked tired. "I think power like this comes with responsibility. But I also know that kindness is often mistaken for weakness." After the call ended, Do-hyun walked through the residential sectors of the ship. 20,000 humans lived inside Ganymede now. They had parks, schools, apartments, and shops. Children played in artificial gravity fields that mimicked Earth's conditions. An old woman sat on a bench, feeding birds in a small park. Do-hyun recognized her as Dr. Haijin, one of the scientists who had helped design the gravity manipulation systems. "May I join you?" he asked. She nodded, moving over to make room. "Do you ever miss the real Ganymede?" he asked. "Before we changed it." She thought for a moment. Ganymede was just a frozen moon before, beautiful but lifeless. Now it's a home and a symbol. I think the change was worth it. "Some species don't agree," Do-hyun said quietly. "The Draconians are building new weapons. They call our ships abominations." "Fear often speaks through anger," Dr. Haijin replied. "They fear us because they don't understand us." The next morning, Do-hyun welcomed the Aldebarans aboard. Their tall, slender forms moved gracefully through the ship's corridors. Their leader, Science Director Miru, seemed genuinely impressed. "This is remarkable," she admitted, running her long fingers over a control panel. "Your species has accomplished in 10 years what most take centuries to develop." "Necessity drives innovation," Do-hyun replied simply. "We underestimated your people," Miru said. "The Concordat made a serious error in judgment by keeping humans at arm's length." The tour continued through the ship's main science lab. The Aldebarans asked careful questions about the gravity manipulation technology. Do-hyun revealed basic principles but no critical details. As they were leaving, Miru paused. "Captain, I should warn you. The Draconians are not acting alone. They have formed a coalition with 7 other species. They call themselves the Guardians of Natural Order." "Thank you for the information," Do-hyun said, surprised by her candor. "Don't mistake this for altruism," Miru replied. "The Aldebarans simply prefer to be on the winning side." That evening, Do-hyun sent a full report to Earth. The galaxy was changing rapidly. Old alliances were breaking. New ones were forming. And humanity, once ignored and dismissed, now stood at the center of it all. As he looked out at the endless stars, Do-hyun wondered what the future would bring. Would humans use their power wisely? Or would they become what they had once feared? The Ganymede ship continued its silent patrol, a moon-turned warship, a symbol of human ingenuity and determination that had forever changed the balance of power among the stars. 5 years had passed since the first planet ship revealed itself to the galaxy. The day was now celebrated across human territories as Emergence Day. On Earth, crowds gathered in every major city to watch the ceremony. Admiral Juncio stood on a stage in Seoul Plaza. Behind him, giant screens showed the captains of all 8 planet ships. They were scattered across the galaxy, but connected through hologram technology. 5 years ago, we changed the course of human history, Junsu said, his voice carried to millions watching across Earth and beyond. We took our greatest limitation, having only one star system, and turned it into our greatest strength. The crowd cheered. Children waved small models of the planet ships. In orbit above, the Luna ship glowed with celebration lights that could be seen from the ground. In her private quarters aboard the Jupiter ship, Dr. Ju prepared for her own special event. The largest of all planet ships, Jupiter now housed over 2 million humans and served as a mobile diplomatic hub. Today, representatives from 26 alien species would join her to watch Admiral Junso's speech. Her aide, Youngmi, entered the room. "The guests are ready, Doctor." Ju nodded and straightened her formal uniform. "How do they seem?" "Nervous," Youngmi replied with a small smile. "The Regelians keep looking at the ceiling as if it might fall on them." The observation lounge was a marvel of engineering. Its transparent ceiling showed the stars above, while the floor revealed the swirling atmosphere of Jupiter below. Between these two views sat representatives of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Ju entered and bowed. "Welcome, honored guests. The ceremony will begin shortly." She could see the mixed emotions on their faces: fear, respect, curiosity. Even after 5 years, many species still struggled to accept the new reality. The Procyon ambassador approached her. His fur was sleek and gray, his eyes large and black. "Dr. Ju, I've been studying human history in preparation for this gathering," he said, "but something still puzzles me." "What's that, Ambassador? Why did none of our analysts predict this development? We've studied humans extensively." The room fell quiet. Other representatives leaned in to hear her answer. Ju smiled. "That was your mistake. You studied our wars, our conflicts, our divisions. You calculated our threat potential based on how effectively we could kill one another." "What did we miss?" asked the Procyon. "How effectively we build when united by a common purpose," she replied. "The truly dangerous human trait isn't our capacity for violence. It's our ability to solve problems that others consider unsolvable." The hologram in the center of the room activated, showing Admiral Juncio continuing his speech. "Today, we announced the next chapter in human history," he said. "The planet ships will no longer serve just as warships. They will become mobile research stations, disaster response vessels, and centers for cultural exchange." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Earth is sponsoring the formation of a new interstellar body, the Cooperative for Galactic Advancement. Membership will not be determined by technological age or military strength, but by commitment to shared progress and mutual respect." In the lounge, the alien representatives whispered among themselves. The draconian diplomat looked especially troubled. "You would give up your military advantage?" he asked Ju. "We're not giving up anything," she replied. "We're using our position to create something better than the old system." After the ceremony ended, Ju took her guests on a tour of Jupiter's interior. They walked through vast gardens where plants from 100 worlds grew together. They visited research labs where scientists from different species worked side by side. 5 years ago, we built these ships because we felt threatened," Ju explained. "We needed to prove ourselves. But now we have a chance to use them for something greater." Later that evening, as the last guests departed, Ju stood alone in the observation lounge. Below her, Jupiter's great red spot swirled, a storm that had raged for centuries. Above her, The galaxy spread out in endless possibility. Her tablet beeped with a message from Dr. Minho, the creator of the gravity manipulation technology. "Happy anniversary," it read. "I just completed the designs for the next generation of ships, not planet-sized this time. Something different. Something better." Jiwoo smiled. Human innovation hadn't stopped with the Behemoth project. It had only just begun. On each of the 8 planet ships, crews celebrated in their own ways. On Mars, they held races around the equator. On Mercury, they created art from recycled weapon components. On Ganymede, they released lights into the artificial sky. The galaxy had not been ready for human engineers, but perhaps now, with the right leadership and vision, it could be ready for human dreamers. As Jiwoo looked out at the stars, she knew the true journey was just beginning. The planet ships had given humanity a voice in galactic affairs. Now it was time to decide what they would say. The real work had just begun.